Hello, thank you for joining GUTV. I am Ethan McReynolds, the executive producer for today's show, where we'll be catching you up on all things Gonzaga and Spokane. Welcome into our studio, and without further ado, this is Zag Vision.
Hello and welcome into Zag Vision. I'm Alex Russell.
And I'm Sophie Otto. The world has been impacted in many ways the past 2 years. We're here to provide you with the latest news and happenings around Gonzaga and the greater Spokane area.
The expectations surrounding COVID-19 have been ever-changing since the pandemic altered our world forever 2 years ago. But how have expectations changed at Gonzaga? And what is the school asking of students? With more on the story at our Zagatron, here's Nate Gustafson.
Thanks, Alex. The last 2 years following the outbreak of the COVID pandemic have been turbulent and exhausting for everyone. Gonzaga's campus has been no different. With evolving expectations and protocols, we took a deeper dive into the requirements on students for this spring semester and how that may be unclear for some.
A global pandemic will no doubt limit the college experience. For some students, it isn't always clear why.
There's a little bit of inconsistency in their regulations. You know, I can't go play basketball with my roommates. However, I could go with 10,000 other people to the kennel to watch basketball being played.
For the fall 2021 semester, the focus was on getting Gonzaga's campus vaccinated. However, this spring, students claim enforcement policies have been less obvious for the booster.
I mean, I'm not even sure what their stance is on the booster. They're just kind of encouraging it. They're just like, it's recommended.
I don't really feel like they're enforcing it that much, just because I know plenty of students who haven't got the booster.
Kent Porterfield, the Vice Provost of Student Affairs, has been focused on student safety related to COVID the last 2 years. He's been central to getting the campus vaccinated.
The thing that makes it different with the boosters is that you're only eligible for the boosters 6 months after your last vaccination, after your second shot. So we don't have everybody eligible for a booster at the same time, which creates some complications. So you'll see over the next probably few weeks, we'll really be trying to ramp that up. So there'll be some messaging going out saying, hey, we need you to do this. You know, you don't want that messaging to sound threatening, but sometimes we have to give a pretty strong nudge to get students to comply.
While the university is prioritizing the booster, there are some other differences for this semester compared to last fall.
We do what we call signs, symptoms, and exposure testing. We aren't doing surveillance testing this semester, but we will do targeted testing if we start to see some patterns. So let's say in a residence hall on a floor we see several cases. We might call that students in on that floor to do some testing.
Although COVID protocols will continue to evolve over time, it appears both students and the Gonzaga administration are committed to prioritizing a safe campus.
Masks are required for everyone, as we saw with the John Stockton case. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are or what it is. You got to get vaccinated, you got to wear your mask, you got to do the proper protocols to be on this school.
The fact is this virus is going to be around for a while. You know, those are just things that we, have to live with and manage, and hopefully we get from a place where we're doing a little less crisis response and it's really a little bit more about the way we operate on a day-to-day basis.
As Kent Porterfield mentioned, the university is prioritizing getting students, faculty, and staff boosted whenever eligible. Gonzaga hosted 4 days of booster clinics in late January with the hopes of hosting more clinics on campus later in the semester. Now let's go back to the desk with Sophie and Alex.
Thanks, Nate. Gonzaga Athletics has also made changes to their operations with COVID in mind. The university earned national attention after news broke that John Stockton's season tickets were suspended due to not following the mask mandate.
With that in mind, we check in to see what other changes were happening in McCarthy Athletic Center. Let's send it over to Tommy Sandmeyer with more.
Thanks, guys. Last year, the men's and women's basketball teams were forced to play in front of empty seats. This year, however, the McCarthy Athletic Center has welcomed fans back to cheer on their Zags. Gonzaga Athletics has mandated mask wearing all season, and due to a recent spike from the cases from the Omicron variant, has stopped serving concessions at games to prioritize safety. It's one example of how the Gonzaga Athletic Department is prioritizing safety over profits.
Attending a Gonzaga University basketball game is an indescribable feeling, and students, along with passionate alumni, are once again able to cheer on their Zags in the kennel. GU Athletics has made it their goal to make sure the kennel is safe for everyone.
All of the legislation, all of the mandates that we're under right now come from Olympia. So we just communicate that out to our season ticket holders, all of our patrons that come into the arena.
While there have been some issues with some attendees, most fans, such as Jeannie Ryder Monroe, are happy that GU is putting safety first.
We're in total agreement. We believe that it's a temporary suspension of the concessions and the social rooms. It's temporary.
Along with GU Athletics, the Kennel Club has made it their goal to encourage members to follow all safety guidelines.
Yeah, well, I mean, their main message is like mask up so we can stay in the kennel. Because last semester, like, it was very tough. Like, it was getting, obviously COVID wasn't as bad as it is this semester, but I think this semester they've done a lot better job of putting that information out there, kind of, that like mask up to stay in the kennel is kind of like the main priority right now.
While not everyone agrees with GU Athletics' COVID policies, masking up is the only way to stay in the kennel.
We've had a few people that have not agreed with our stance on it, but by far the majority have been in agreement with it. It goes hand in hand with the current state of where we are as a country or where we are as a state.
There's no question home court advantage, especially with fans, is a huge advantage for the men's and women's basketball teams. The women's team has one of the best attendance records in the WCC, and the men's team currently holds the nation's longest active home winning streak with 64 consecutive wins at the McCarthy Athletic Center. Back to you guys in the studio.
Thanks, Tommy. Coming up on Zag Vision, Brandon Coate updates us on the Zoom attack on the Black Student Union and how the university has addressed it.
And later, Jake Webley will give a deep dive into the popular app Joe Coffee. Stay with us.
Over 26% of women will be sexually assaulted during their time in college. That's 1 in 4.
%90 of campus assaults are committed by offenders that the survivor knows.
Only 12% of college student survivors report the assault to the police.
84% of female survivors are sexually assaulted during their first 2 years in college.
Only 6% of rapes are false reports,
a rate that does not exceed the false reporting rate of other crimes.
5 to 6% of men will be sexually assaulted during their time in college.
13% of women report being stalked during their time in college.
For every 100 rapes, only 2 rapists will ever see jail time.
These aren't just statistics,
they're a reality.
So that raises the question.
What are you?
What are you? What are you?
What are you going to do about it?
Welcome back to Zag Vision. We're going to send you over to Brandon Coate, who is with special guest Union Carter, discussing the university's response to the cyber attack against the Black Student Union. Take it away, Brandon.
Thank you, Sophie. Back in November of 2020, a Zoom hate attack was committed against the Black Student Union, and joining me today is the Black Student Union's public relations representative and member of the BSU's task force, Union Carter. Union, so to start off, the Black Student Union had 5 demands for the administration. Did Gonzaga actually follow through on these requests?
So they created the task force to kind of handle the requests that were laid out in a contract taken out between the BSU and Gonzaga's like administration. And so the task force, this session's like starting last semester and like beginning of this semester, we've kind of just been focusing on like getting more like diversity and equity and inclusion trainings for our staff and faculty members. That's kind of been like our main focus for right now. So it's kind of been a little bit slower than we were expecting, definitely, but I think we're making like some progress in like getting some of the work done, but we've kind of just like chosen to take it like point by point.
Right, so you think you're on the right path towards diversity, equity, and inclusion on campus. Is there anything more we can do to increase the pace of this?
To be honest, I'm not 100% sure. I think a lot of it is like on the administration side. So we had a meeting with the deans a couple of weeks ago, so like all the deans of the colleges at Gonzaga, and they seemed like they were all like for like the diversity and equity training. They already have some sort of form of training, but it's not currently like mandated. So it's like up to the staff and faculty members if they want to do it or not. And so we're just trying to change that so it's mandated based on like data from like the bias report like website that kind of shows that a lot of like bias reports are happening in the classroom. And so we're trying to get that training mandated to hopefully lessen that number of reports.
What percentage of faculty and students have completed this training?
I don't remember off the top of my head. I'd probably say somewhere between, this is kind of a large gap, but like between like 50 and 70% maybe of the faculty and staff. And then the training wasn't given to the students.
Okay, so as a member of the BSU task force, who makes up this group?
So it's a lot of kind of like administrative heads. So we have Dr. Robin Kelly. She is I want to say her title is the Chief Diversity Officer. Right. And then we also have Joan Iva Fawcett. She just got promoted. She's a dean now, but she used to be the director of UMEC. And then we have a couple of different faculty members from like different colleges. So like College of Arts and Sciences, engineering, and then there's 3 students who are also board members for BSU. So like me, Jackie Gaither, and Haley Pollard were like the student voices on that task force.
Describe what it's like working, like as a student, working with this faculty on such important issues on campus.
Yeah, I think in the beginning it was definitely like very intimidating. I was like afraid to speak up, but I think I've become like more comfortable, and they've also kind of given me the option to like voice my opinion. So usually like at some point in the meeting, they'll kind of turn it on us and ask us what we want to do. And I think coming like from the BSU, like us 3 members, we kind of had, we've kind of been the points on like exactly what we want the task force to do. And then like the administrative heads have just like kind of helped us navigate like the administrative side of doing that.
Well, it's cool that you're able to take lead on this. So do you see this relationship becoming permanent throughout the years after you leave Gonzaga?
I definitely think so, just because the contract listed a couple of different points and we've like barely scratched the surface on one. And so I think this will be definitely like an ongoing relationship between like the BSU and the administration. And hopefully like it continues to be like fruitful and like create like positive change at GU.
Yes, so last week, President Thane McCullough emailed the university about Black History Month and the rise of bomb threats against historically Black colleges and universities. How can we try to continue to support Black students and faculty on campus?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. I would encourage like students to keep track of like what the BSU task force is. I think it's really easy for like administrative things to just kind of slide because obviously students get wrapped up in their own life. So like keeping tabs on that. And I think like something for like individuals to do, I think a lot of like educating yourself has been really helpful, and like not, at least like for my personal opinion, like people not relying on like students of color, Black students to educate them. And kind of, I think with that education comes like the decrease of kind of like performative activism, where it's like you're taking it a step further than like maybe like just wearing the t-shirt, like you're kind of embodying what like you say you want to do.
Well said. Well, thank you, Union, so much for joining us today, and we'll now throw it back to the desk.
Thanks, Brandon, and another special thank you to Union Carter for taking time out of her day to talk with us. Coming up on Zag Vision, GUTV reporter Jake Webley gives us the inside scoop on the new app Joe Coffee that is changing how you should order your hot beverage in the morning.
Those longboarders are really starting to get on my nerves.
Bikers and scooters, too. They act like they own the sidewalk.
Yeah, earlier I was walking around and I saw a skateboarder. He was coming at me real hot and my friend was like, whoa. Then he just ran right into me. Then I looked at him and he said, my friend told him to share the concrete. So then I was like, yeah, share the concrete, bro.
Yeah, people with wheels need to share.
I'm fine. You know, this year's going a lot better. I'm making friends. I'm not as homesick. I've started talking about it. I don't take those meds anymore. And those thoughts, they don't scare me as much. But am I okay? I mean, I think I'm okay. I don't really know what to tell people. No one's really asked me that in a while.
Welcome back to Zag Vision. Joe Coffee is a new popular mobile ordering app that has taken Gonzaga students by storm. GUTV reporter Jake Webley has more on the app and its impact on small businesses.
Thanks, y'all. Like many people, I prefer to start my day with a cup of coffee, and the Joe Coffee app has made that easier by providing local coffee shops the ability to do online orders.
It's pretty popular. I think that this day and age kids tend to go to whatever they can access through their phone versus having to worry about coming in and waiting.
Arctos Coffee, a local Spokane cafe, has been on the Joe Coffee app for a while now and finds that the app has brought more business from customers who are used to the order-ahead luxury that Starbucks provides.
I would much rather really quickly get on my phone, take care of it, and not have to worry about it, versus having to estimate my time of going into a coffee shop and ordering coffee. Whenever I'm on a rush or it's a travel day, I'm much more likely to go to Starbucks because there's an app that is offered. So I think that that's great. I've been a barista for 10 years and this is the first shop that a locally owned shop that I know that's have it, and it seems to be pretty successful for them.
Many students find the Joe Coffee app enticing due to the offers and deals the app provides that are redeemable at their favorite local coffee shops.
I first learned about the Joe Coffee app through a friend, and I just heard that there were many great deals on it, and I've been using it ever since.
Beyond discounts, the app promotes local businesses to app users, giving more spotlight to beloved community coffee shops.
So the discounts provide kind of an opportunity to get into these smaller local coffee shops and give them opportunity to compete with bigger chains such as Starbucks.
Another shop that has adapted well to the new wave of business from the Joe Coffee app is the Thomas Hammer in Jepson Center.
Yeah, I would say it's successful. It brings a lot more recognition to the Thomas Hammer, especially since we're just in this little corner in the business building. Like a lot of students, especially freshmen, they'll come in and be like, oh, I've never been to Thomas Hammer before. I didn't even know this was here. So I feel like since they can see it on the Joe app and they're like, oh, that's on campus, then they can come in and order through the Joe app, and it just kind of brings more business and more customers in.
The app does bring in more customers and can create an added rush for baristas, but Isabel shares that it's manageable with a team.
So there's one person that's on register, one person that does the Joe orders, and then the other person is on bar, which means they're making the espresso and putting the drinks together and whatnot. So there's usually 3 of us working, which actually ends up working out really well.
If you're a fan of coffee and supporting local businesses, download Joe Coffee today and get $3 off your first order when using the app. Help keep small businesses thriving in your community. Now let's send it back to Sophie.
Thanks, Jake. If you've been looking for food options on campus this year, you've likely noticed some of your favorite spots are closed. Gonzaga's dining service, Sodexo, relies on student workers and members of the community for their staffing needs. After layoffs from the pandemic, Sodexo has struggled in finding enough workers to cover all food service roles. As a result, many dining services have changed the way they operate, becoming a strictly you pick 3 or closing indefinitely. Some of these closed food spots include concessions at basketball games, Contemplative Cafe, Cataldo's 1887, and Kenny Apartments' very own Duff's Cafe. Gonzaga students have had to adjust to the new normal.
All of my friends and I just started eating at Duff's again, and they had tater tot nachos, which is fantastic. And then they closed down kind of right when we fell in love. So I used to eat on campus a lot more, but then I got kind of tired of eating the Cog every day or Cataldo every day. So now that a lot of stuff's closed, I've kind of resorted more to cooking by myself, eating in my apartment, which is fine. It's just not as much fun.
Well, Zags, you may have seen some of your fellow classmates taking the field this week as many students prepare for the spring club sports season. The coming months bring the return of Gonzaga's baseball and softball club teams. Tryouts were held at Mulligan Field last week as our student athletes take the first step into their 2022 season. Students are especially glad to be back on the field after the many challenges that have faced the club teams. From having to be pre-approved to visit the batting cages to travel restrictions changing on a weekly basis, Gonzaga sports have been no walk in the park. And club baseball is a prime example of how nothing has been normal for club sports since COVID hit.
Had to move from our home field that we used to play prior to COVID. We used to play at Gonzaga Prep, and we had to try a couple different high schools. We did Rogers High School and Mount Spokane High School. Also, our conference shrunk to 3 teams because that was the only people that were able to compete last year under the COVID protocols. We were limited in our travel at the beginning of last year to only being able to stay in Spokane County until the very end of the year when we were able to travel to Yakima for regionals.
Coming up after the break on Zag Vision, there's a new professional sports team coming to town. Get all the details with us.
And don't miss Carter Culver as he breaks down recent happenings in Gonzaga men's and women's basketball.
The experience that you have abroad is going to be as meaningful, I believe, as the effort that you put into it. I hope that what Study Abroad and what the Center for Global Engagement in particular does is that it opens up the whole campus to both differences and both that engagement, that willingness to change, and by doing that lift you up in a way that expands your mind and helps you engage the world in a different way. Go abroad.
Welcome back. A new professional sports team is coming to Spokane in the near future, and Sophie has some more details for us.
Coming soon to Spokane, professional soccer. The United Soccer League is collaborating with downtown Spokane to build a new stadium and create a Spokane soccer club. The United Soccer League is the fastest growing professional soccer organization in the country. The Spokane Club will bring a professional men's team and pre-professional women's team to Spokane. Along with the new club, a new 5,000-seat soccer stadium is being built downtown to be used by USL and the Spokane community. Former Spokane City Council candidate Cindy Chipman is serving as the president of USL Spokane.
Well, the USL represents a grassroots soccer movement in America, and the goal is really to grow the game in communities and regions that haven't had the opportunity to have professional soccer. For USL Spokane, our main value and our biggest value for us is that we are a club built by Spokane and for all. So a very community-driven and very inclusive organization.
From the professional ranks to the college level, Gonzaga basketball continues to capture headlines on the court. Let's send it over to Carter Culver at Zagatron to check in on the men's and women's teams.
Thanks, Alex. Saturday, January 29th, the men's team hosted the Portland Pilots and in routine fashion absolutely dominated. It was a true team effort with 6 players scoring in the double figures in what ended in a 104-72 rout for the Zags. The boys' star freshman Chet Holmgren knocks down this open look over the Pilots as he continued his hot streak, shooting 4 of 6 from deep, finishing with 12 on the night. Drew Timme absolutely dominated in the paint, bullying Portland for a layup here. He finished with 16 points, 10 rebounds, and added 2 blocks. Junior Anton Watson threw down a dunk to cap off a 16-point game coming off the bench. He finished shooting 5 for 7. The win moved the Zags to 17-2 on the season and kept their number 2 overall ranking in the AP poll for the 2nd consecutive week. The boys continue to run the floor and can hopefully maintain their consistency with March Madness only 1 month away. On the other side of the court, the women's team took on Pacific Thursday, February 3rd and put on an even more dominant display than the men, winning 79-38. Junior Kaylee Trong led the team with 12 points and per usual was all over the court, shooting a perfect 4 for 4. Senior Abby O'Connor drilled 2 threes and finished in double figures. O'Connor also recorded 3 rebounds and 2 assists. Sophomore Eliza Hollingsworth also nailed 2 from downtown and was the 3rd of 4 players to score in double figures. With their incredible performance, the Zags improved to 17-4 on the season and currently sit just outside the top 25 rankings on the AP poll, coming in at number 28 in the net rankings. The women have had a great season so far, and just like the men, have their eyes set on the madness that's waiting just around the corner. Going forward, the women will be heading down to Santa Clara tonight at 6 to battle the Broncos, and the men will be hosting Pacific, also at 6. Best of luck to both teams, and as always, Go Zags! That's all I have for sports this week. Back to you, Sophie and Alex.
Thanks, Carter. That is going to do it for this edition of Zag Vision. Thank you for joining us today. For GUTV, I'm Sophie Otto.
And I'm Alex Russell. Thank you, and we'll see you next time.